Hey everyone, and welcome to the Best of 3 Call of Duty Esports podcast. I'm your host, Josh. SalvationsElite to my right is Batch_Bo3, and to our farthest right, per usual, is none other than Rex, Shady, Nero. And guys, we have a lot to talk about today. Obviously, following our first official LAN since last March. It's been that long, and we have a ton to go over today. Of course, we're breaking it down. We're talking the future of the CDL. We're talking the power rankings for the Call of Duty League, and some big time news from LAG, which, you know, who knows, maybe this is the last roster change of the whole year. Very possible. Maybe. And a lot more to talk about as well. But before we get to any of that, guys, I've got to ask, boys, what is going on?
Well, Josh, I am feeling like a whale, a blue whale who's just been beached. And honestly, I'm panicking. Yeah. I have a lot of anxiety. There's lots of these creatures with 2 legs and skin walking around. And I'm like, what's going on here? You guys need to back up, and I need to get back in the water. But then all of a sudden, an old maid comes along. She's got her flower basket and she starts throwing petals on me. I'm like, this is kind of nice, but I'm still very anxiety ridden. But then all of a sudden, she picks up sand, blows it in my eye, and she all of a sudden then lifts me telepathically and throws me back into the Pacific Ocean.
That ain't no maid.
It was quite the belly flop, if I'm being quite honest with you.
10 out of 10.
But it's all gone, and I'm feeling free, and I'm back in my habitat.
That's great, dude. I'm so glad to hear, bro. I'm glad to see the whale made it back to his natural habitat.
That's gotta be a good feeling.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. How you doing? Are you the maid?
No, unfortunately not.
Oh, man,
I don't have that kind of powers.
Yeah, you're more of like the harpoon. Like you're
just spearhead the whale at all costs.
Yeah. Well, man, we got a lot to talk about today. Like I said, obviously you can listen on Apple Podcasts, you can listen on Spotify, you can watch on YouTube. We're making some improvements around here too, so that YouTube's getting better and better and better. We're gonna have some highlights rocking today. We're hopefully gonna be scrolling through Twitter, and we have a whole lot more going on nowadays. So it's gonna be pretty fire. I'm looking forward to it. Of course, you can drop a comment on YouTube. You can drop a review on Apple Podcasts. And today we have a kind review from
Matthew6290.
Oh.
And I am not making this title up.
Okay.
Title is Sam has the best hot takes on the show.
Bro, what is happening here, man? Okay. Sam is just getting all the
5-star reviews, of course. Hey guys, this show has been great to listen to on my drive to work and while editing videos. You guys have great insight on the different aspects of the CDL, and the chemistry between you 3 is amazing.
Hey, let's go.
Keep up the great work and much love. Thank you,
Matthew, my guy.
6290.
Hopefully those videos you're editing are fire. I mean,
for sure.
You know,
they
it's
got
tough competition around here, but you know, I mean, hey.
With a 5-star review and that kind of a title, those videos are fire.
I'd imagine so. I mean, the next one's going to be like 100K, 200K, million views. It's going to be insane. But man, all right. So obviously, we're going to go back to back. No quick questions today. We're on fire with no quick questions because it just feels like no matter what, we end up hitting the hour 40 mark anyway. So no matter what we do, it's going to happen. So
I have no idea when the last time we did a quick question was, but it was a long time ago.
I want to do it again. It's going to happen. Don't worry. But I guess without further ado, we can probably just go straight into the news of the week. We have a lot to get into, so let's hit it.
Papers. Get your papers.
The Call of Duty News of the Week.
Yes, sir. And once again, Rex did such a good job with the news last week. We thought, why not?
Why not give him the responsibility?
Throw it away. Throw it his way again.
News, man.
So it's back to back for Rex, Shady, Nero.
Let's get some of these simple ones out of the way.
Yes.
League play updates. LC10 AK banned. Says they're going to be making some changes to the rank system, some tweaking.
Yes.
I imagine it's not going to be, it's going to be the same, you know, whatever, elite, master. But I guess maybe more people are probably going to end up being in the lower, you know, maybe you're elite, now you're expert, master, now you're elite.
I think they were saying like,
I didn't really notice any changes.
Yeah, they're saying like the one that you usually get put into may not be the one you get put into. So like, I think you're right, Rex. I think it's like, don't be surprised if you get put into a lower tier.
Yeah.
And then
they throw us a little dog bone with the LC10 and AK-47 finally getting restricted.
That's a long time overdue.
Cool.
Wow.
It's just so annoying. It's like when they finally decide like, Actually, we kind of like how good these guns are. You know what? We were thinking about nerfing them, but instead, okay, I guess we'll finally ban them for you. Like, cool, thanks. That should have happened 4 months ago, like 5 months ago. It's insane.
Honestly, and this may be a little bit of a tangent here. If we're going to have GAs in COD League just needs to own it.
I agree.
And they need to post out. It's like, okay, and the agreements are for this season, for right now, we're not going to be using these things. Like, the league has to stand behind these GAs because I feel like
we're fence sitting way too much at this point. It's like lukewarm water. It's disgusting. It's like, I want the ice cubes in my water, man, or else I want this water to be steaming hot so I can boil something.
Yeah,
at the
it's
end
just
of the
creating that disconnect.
I agree. And like at the end of the day, like, you know, it's the CDL's like, oh no, the pros don't decide the rule sets around here. We do. We totally decide the rules around here.
Psych.
And then it's like, obviously you don't. Obviously you don't. And the whole community has decided that the pros get to decide the rule set and we're just going to follow it. So at this point, own up to it and just let it happen because that's
can you imagine
inevitable.
the COD League posting out a statement saying, so we're not going to be using snipers for now. It's like, what? I mean, just from a casual perspective, looking in, not knowing the whole thing, everything behind it, that's not a good look. But, you know, I don't even like that the snipers GA'd. Overpowered, whatever. It's entertaining.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing.
Do you know that there's people who prefer room temperature water over cold water?
And those people are in prison.
That's crazy.
No, I think it's actually very popular in some Asian countries.
I could never get behind warm water.
Yeah, nah.
I need
I mean, again, like if it's the only option, I guess. But like at the end of the day, if you have the cold water option, hello.
It makes no sense to me.
Obviously. Yeah. So at the end of the day, like besides the water takes here, at the end of the day, it's just like I 100% agree with you. At some point, the CDL's got to start rocking with one side or the other. Either we are getting rid of all GAs here, or we're embracing them. GA. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing: you can't even get rid of GAs. What are you supposed to tell a player?
That's the thing.
Actually, you should be using that gun. Yeah. It's like, well, we're just not going.
You'd have to start going like craziness with it, and like starting like, yo, you are using this,
or
if not, you're getting fined.
Yeah.
If
so
you don't see one LC10 in the game, you're getting fined.
You're getting fined. Like they'd have to go crazy with it, but I mean, at the same time, like at that point, like okay, fine, let's do it. Sure. Like let's make it happen. It's just like one of the two at this point. I agree with you. So, yeah, 100%, Rex.
All right, next up, this one.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll go with this one. This one's sort of a big one. Recent news.
Sort of.
LAG drops Chino.
Is the news.
And they add Mental, the old Gears of War pro that we were talking about at the beginning of the season, how he's picked up for Challengers team.
Man. Dude,
Silly's getting roasted about it on Twitter.
I'll give Sam some credit. He did say that he was confident that eventually Mental would get picked up. And that he would eventually be in the starting lineup.
Yeah. Rex, do you remember the bold predictions when we were all in person?
Yeah, it was like the Christmas episode when we were in person and we did bold predictions here.
No, what? Well, remind me.
Yeah. So we did a bold predictions episode. There were some pretty good ones.
There were some pretty good ones.
Because Sam and I were going to look for when he said.
I can't remember when it was. It wasn't during that episode.
So it probably was when they got originally signed.
However, during that episode, I said Neptune would get on the starting roster.
And at that point, he wasn't even signed yet.
Right. Yeah. So,
yeah. And in that episode, I would have shot at myself.
True.
In my episode, I said that there would be up to 4 DLC maps or new maps. Including raid by champs. And here we are with exactly 4. I'm freaking wizard. Hello. Wow. Thank you very much.
And I said Illy was going to be MVP this year. So there's that.
I think we can find that in the video for sure.
So I mean, hey, I mean, after stage 4, you never know.
You never know.
You never know. Something crazy could happen here at stage 5. Illy can go God mode. You know.
But yeah, anything's
Chino,
possible.
Yeah, Chino
drop from LAG. People are roasting silly about it.
Okay, yeah.
There's some things we said about Cheen, and so just looking through some stats. Cheen was the worst statistically in S&D for his Cold War tenure on LAG, but it really wasn't that bad. 0.97 KD, 44% first blood percentage. And then it's also LAG's best game mode. So
right,
he's the worst in their best mode that they're winning most of the time. Now in hardpoint, he's the second worst on a team for hardpoint statistically. And he's right above Silly, statistically.
Right. I mean, obviously, Katie, it only matters so much. But like at the end of the day, I mean, they were on a 12 hardpoint losing streak. And yes, they beat LA Thieves. But obviously, they beat LA Thieves in Game 5 without Huke on Draza playing on 24-hour notice. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not much of an impressive win. And not to mention, that's already a new roster in itself. So it's like, you know, there was obviously a role issue here. Something had to change. They were 10-2-12 or 2-10 in their last 12 games, including a win against Seattle like weeks ago and against LA Thieves. So it's like, at the end of the day, you had to change something. Something had to change. So what are you going to do? I mean, either you bring in a lot of new guys or, you know, obviously LAG doesn't want to spend that much cash, obviously.
I mean, it's tough. It's tough.
Right.
I mean, and, you know, Silly, like I said, was the worst statistically in hardpoint. But then if we go into control, Cheen was their best control player. And he's actually in the top 15 statistically.
In KD?
I think it's all around. It's on codleaguestats.com. Is what I'm using.
Yeah.
So he's number 14. And control is not, they're just bad at respawns in general. Their worst is going to be hard point. It's just hard to think Cheen was the problem for this team. Now you could talk intangible things, how the team meshes and chemistry things. Maybe that's a different discussion, but how do you guys feel about this switch with Cheen and not somebody else?
I mean, I don't know. My first thought again is that at the end of the day, something had to change. And there was obviously a role situation here where Silly just wasn't good on a 74U. He wasn't. So it's like, but when he was playing, when he wasn't using a 74U, he was pretty good. So at the end of the day, it's like, you know, do you think you can maximize Silly and his 74U better than you can maximize like Chino?
You could move Cheen to that AR role and then have somebody else coming in and fill in that flex. A lot of names being tossed around are like, we know Silly maybe should have been the guy that was dropped.
Right.
But then I don't know if that really would make sense. He seems to be the leader of that team, the one who's the glue. And that's not something you really just want to get rid of that easily. The whole team is weird because the whole team has not been that bad, but nobody's really been great. They have moments, but nobody's been consistently at this great level.
No. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to swing for the fences at some point, and you're bringing in a player that you just hope can turn into Shotzi. You're just, it's probably, you know, wisping at straws here this late into the year. But I mean, like, at the end of the day, Sam, what are your thoughts? You've been a little bit quiet over there.
No, I think this is the right move. I really do like Silly on that second AR. You've gone this far with this squad.
Right.
And you are in the bottom 4.
Yeah, you have no chance of champs at this point.
You need, if you were going to have a chance, you need a huge spark.
I mean, you're 70 points back of Florida.
Exactly.
You basically have to win stage 5.
Yes. So like, I guess in my mind,
and that might not even do it.
This is your Hail Mary.
Yeah.
So
that's literally what it is. It's a Hail Mary.
Which I respect. A discussion is, what do these bottom 4 teams do when they pretty much know that they're not going to be at champs? Do you continue to do what you're doing and just kind of hope for next year? Do you play for stats? Well, LAG, I think they're going to throw it. They're going to lob it. So I respect the play. I like Mental as a player. We have seen players unlock. Look at Vivid on LAN with Dallas. He seemed to, unlock. Percentage wise, I don't think this is going to do much for them.
Right, that's the question. So then where do they go from here? How do you see it impacting the team?
Yeah, it's literally going to have to be apathy and Mental becoming an insane SMG duo.
Right.
And then
Silly elevating to top 15 AR levels.
Which it's just not going to happen, but I do respect the play, and this is kind of the move you have to do at this point. So,
well, do they actually have no chance at champs, or is there like a slim chance still?
Again, they're 70 points back of Florida.
They obviously have to win.
They'd have to win stage 5.
Yeah, and Florida has to tank.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, depends.
They'd have to go like 5-0 in the groups, and then win stage 5, and then Florida goes like 2-3-2 or 2-3 and something like that. Like the odds of it are literally like 0, but you have to try a Hail Mary at this point. It's your only play.
You have to.
Yeah, but it just feels weird when it's Chino. It's like everyone kind of thinks Chino was their best player, and so to get rid of him like that and not even question these other 3 where they were bad with Vivid and everyone is questioning that, but obviously it's Vivid's choice to leave.
And then
Chino,
Vivid starts frying.
And then Vivid starts frying. Now Chino, he's doing pretty well for that team. Everyone thinks he was, probably the best player on that team.
Right.
And then they get rid of him and it's like, what? You
okay,
keep
so
getting
if
rid
it was
of
your
quote,
call,
best players.
if you were the GM here, what would you have done?
See that? I mean, I'm not the GM, luckily, because this is a tough decision to make. But I get where people are coming from. People are roasting Silly, saying like, you're the one who said to get rid of Chino, as if he had a say. Silly's pretty adamant, saying he really didn't have a say in this. So it could be coming from the higher ups. They have this guy Mental, who's a Gears of War legend, and he was going to be their Shotzi for this season, possibly.
Yeah.
So they're like, let's throw him in there. We put out cash for him. Let's just throw him in. So I'm assuming that's where the roster change is happening. And the other 3 just tighten it. They've been there a while. They probably got decent contracts with it. So I don't know, but it's a tough call.
Yeah, I would have leaned. I mean, it's either this or you bench Assault. It's one of the 2. I'd be okay with either. I think I would maybe lean trying to bench Assault, and then
it just feels like Chino is doing better than Assault too.
Right.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like,
different.
At least maybe it might provide a little bit more upside in the just like if you're going for the Hail Mary play, I think that gives you a better chance of a Hail Mary.
Yeah.
Just because you're making more changes.
Because I would have given a very high odds that Chino could replicate Assault's performance.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Chino's known for as his main AR.
Yeah. So like I would have placed heavy bets that Chino can at least do the exact same as Assault, right?
Yeah.
So then you move Celia to the second AR.
Which you haven't seen them played as like an AR duo before.
Exactly. But then, yeah, you are doing a more of a Hail Mary there, which could lead to success.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, like, at the end of the day, if this is a Hail Mary play, I'm surprised there aren't 2 changes because it's literally what you need at this point. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I mean, what would you lean on that debate?
I would try benching Assault again because you're pretty much not making champs.
Yeah. I mean, on the year, Assault hasn't been a bad player.
No,
he's been solid, but like, there's been a lot of problems on this team, and at different times, there's been different problems. And yeah, that's the issue at this point. It's just I think you just literally need a Hail Mary. So that's where I get questions. But all right, well, I guess we'll be talking more about LAG here a little bit at the end as well. So I'm sure we'll be talking about it even more moving forward. But what else we got, Rex?
Okay, next up is somewhat of a doozy. Scump having a little bit of a sad tweet.
This was
we
sad.
have it here on screen for you
really
viewers.
Sad.
Sad. I've been sad for months and months. I want to win so badly. I give up personal content to try and improve just to get the same result. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Really just lost at the moment. I never talk about my mental health, but damn, it's been rough recently.
Yeah, this is something you don't see from Scump often.
No, I mean, what do you think this means for Scump? Is he looking for retirement?
This is the most retirement-y tweet we've ever seen from Scump.
Yeah.
Leading in, this is what scares me. Leading into a Warzone tournament this is where I get nervous. If he freaking wins this thing or like wins quite a bit of money during this Warzone tournament, this is where I get nervous. And he really enjoys it. He wins money. He's like, wait a second. And we know Scump is really like financially driven and like really is thoughtful about his money and things like that. If he could see that he could be winning money and probably getting more viewers, get more views on YouTube right now, at least in this exact moment doing Warzone, that's where I get nervous about the potential of a Scump retirement.
Well, I think if they don't hit a stride as a team, because it just seems like the team is like, we're good, but they really aren't. It feels like it's just not clicking how it used to. And like on the Reddit, you see everyone's like, man, if Scump would have just like started doing content during Fortnite, he would have been blowing up. He would have been like Nick Merckx right now. And that very well could be true. And Scump decided to stay in competitive COD.
Right.
Which you can go like props to him, but to him, it's like, wow, this isn't very fun. I'm missing out on I missed out on huge opportunities with Fortnite, huge opportunities with Warzone to grow immensely and to do this.
Yeah.
And he's just getting hate. And it doesn't seem like it's very fun right now. And this could be Scump's last year, in my opinion.
It gets a little scary. It does.
I think this is very much a in the moment tweet you are very sad coming off that loss. That was heartbreaking.
It's a definite in the moment tweet.
Definitely in the moment tweet. I wouldn't give it full gas of he's retiring for sure.
No.
Obviously, we do
but
know
does
that
it push the needle a little
probably
bit more?
yes, probably. Because it's true. He hasn't been creating content, and I'm sure all four of them have been wanting to kill it. And for some reason, it seems like they will show up and destroy and play an amazing Call of Duty, and then the next day they'll collapse.
They just can't beat the elite teams right now.
Yeah,
they just can't.
Yeah,
and it just makes you
struggle.
Which, yeah, I don't want to get too into it because I know we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk a lot about it.
It's the debate. Is it a mental issue or is it a skill issue?
Right. I mean, that's the thing. It just sucked that they gave up streaming a lot, and he gave up posting on YouTube the past month and a half or whatever, leading into this to really grind and really get to that point. And then they make dumb mistakes in the moment, which, again, we're going to have a whole thing about OpTic here in our breakdown. So we'll probably save that for now. But I think the interesting thing is the potential of a Scump retirement here. Yes. So where are you at odds wise for the potential of a Scump retirement at this point? If you had to put what are the odds that Scump retires after this year by the fall?
15%.
I would go about 15 as well. That's where I was thinking. Rex?
I'm doubling that. I'm going to go 30 or 35%.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
He almost was done with World War II. He tried the next game. It seems like every game he's inching closer and closer. And everyone in Cold War was supposed to be the one, right? That everyone was like, this is the game. We're back. And for them and OpTic, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't think it's hitting the same for them. And so I don't know. He might start chalking it. He's fried with COD. He can now stream and just do all these fun games, do variety.
Yeah, it's possible. It definitely is. So we'll see, I guess. That's kind of where we got to go from there. But yeah. All right, Rex, what else we got?
Challengers news.
Okay.
Hey.
Open number 4 happened. Let's talk NA. First place, Exotic, Royalty, Dimacon, Dave Patey. I know that team were just winning map after map after a lot of 3-0s. They just weren't losing maps.
Those guys, man.
Second was Mohawk & Co. And then third, LAG Academy. Coincidentally, LAG Academy getting better.
Mental, baby.
Yeah, and that's probably where it kind of stems from too, and that's kind of the hope.
Maybe
that'll be crazy. Could you imagine if Mental is just insane? That'd be crazy. But
right,
yeah, no, dude, the Challengers continues to stay interesting. I'm really looking forward to seeing this kind of culminate over the next few weeks leading into Challengers Champs, in August and kind of the direction it goes. And then hoping that we can start doubling down more and more on Challengers moving forward as well with the broadcast and the coverage and everything. So I'm looking forward to it for sure. But yeah,
I think once we hit a point with Challengers where we can start identifying players that are being picked up so that people want to go watch to see who the new, rookie on their team is going to be.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Finding a way to make that bridge happen, because right now it just kind of out of nowhere, we're grabbing them, we're going, and it's done. There's no there needs some sort of bridge for that to start happening, I feel like.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we're getting closer to that, but it's still going to take a little bit of time. And hopefully once they rework the format, when we get let back to LAN next year, full time, then we'll be in a good spot. But it sucks that COD missed out on a great year of Modern Warfare, at least from a public perspective, and a solid year of Cold War for that LAN exposure for Challengers too, which kind of sucks. But yeah, man, we'll see. I'm still looking forward to really diving into Challengers even more here, heading into the middle of the summer.
Yeah. In other news, John,
this was so sick. John Rahm, baby.
You want to do this one? This is golf.
Oh yeah, dude, I got this one, bro. This was so sick, man. So obviously on Sunday we were watching. Of course, I'm watching Call of Duty on Sunday, but I was also keeping up with the U.S. Open, the golf U.S. Open, one of the biggest tournaments of the year. And I was keeping up with the leaderboard, so I'm watching, doing the watch party, and here we are. John Rahm is out here just talking it up, having a great time talking in his post-game interview, saying, "Yo, in the morning, how'd you prepare for this tournament?" And he's like, Well, I was excited. I got to wake up and watch some competitive Call of Duty. I was
so
like,
weird. I was like, what?
What?
Specifically, OpTic Chicago.
And then he said, yeah, my boys, OpTic Chicago. And I'm like, what? This is so crazy. The U.S. Open freaking champion was watching competitive COD on the day of on Championship Sunday of the U.S. Open.
Yeah, that's wild.
Insane.
Yeah,
Insane.
I wish it didn't mean a whole lot to me because I'm not an avid golf watcher, so it's kind of weird. But it was cool to see it though. Like someone who won mentions that, like specifically OpTic Chicago. Like that's so cool. Which that's just great for everyone. Like that's not a bad thing for anyone. That's great.
Yeah, I mean it's insane. I mean obviously, just the fact that he collected a cool 2.23 million. 2.25 million that day.
Wow.
He sat next to his little trophy right there, and he's talking about competitive COD even at the end of the day is just so epic, and I love that, man.
How old is he?
26.
26. Holy cow.
Yeah, just a cool 2.25 million.
Jeez.
And
that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I always kind of liked John Rahm. Like he was like a cool dude, just foreign and all that, but I've been a big Bryson DeChambeau fan, obviously, since he came onto the scene because he's.
Did you just say foreign and all that?
Yeah, he's from Spain.
He's okay.
Yeah, man, it's awesome, and just the fact he's just coming in here and talking about COD, so sick. I got hyped. I was like literally watching that. I'm like, I was a smile ear to ear. I was hyped.
That's cool.
But yeah, that was pretty cool. John, if you're listening,
hey, I know you like
come
good
on
podcasts.
to the channel, baby.
Yeah, didn't you tweet at him? You wanted him to do
I did,
1v1
man. I mean, although
1v1
his mentions were probably flooded, just not only from winning the U.S. Open, but also from getting mentioned, mentioning COD and everything too. But yeah, 100%,
so great,
John. If you're listening,
well, John, if you watch this, hit up SalvationsElite. He wants to get you in a video.
Yes, I want to just do anything. I'm down.
Anything,
but
just talk.
Yeah, man, just talk whatever you want. But yeah, fire away, Rex. What else you got?
Next
for us?
up. Overwatch League will have spectators soon.
Yes.
I believe it's going to be the Dallas Fuel homestand,
which is the same venue where we just were.
Same venue where we just were, but they're going to be having fans there.
Oh, you know what that means, baby.
That's got to be looking bright for the COD League.
For stage 5.
Oh,
Let's go,
yeah.
boys. We doing a road trip down to Dallas?
Oh, yeah. I'm so down.
Yes, sir. Let's do it, baby. I'm down. That'd be so fun. A little live pod in Dallas.
Oh,
right. So I would be fully expecting spectators to be happening next major, if not that. Like it's just gonna happen. Has to happen.
Yeah,
by
I
champs.
agree.
Like there's no doubt in my mind. Like by champs, it has to happen.
Well, I mean,
right?
based off what Hex has
if
been
Overwatch
saying,
is doing it.
Yeah, and like Hex has been like consistently optimistic about champs. Like at this point, it feels pretty dang realistic that we're gonna have fans at champs. So that's awesome. That's ideal. We don't know how many or how many fans could be here at stage 5, but at least some, which is great. That's a step in the right direction. So
that's nice.
We'll see, man. That's great news.
All right, next up, Crim. Drama with OpTic and Formal.
Oh, yeah, that kind of happened right after our last pod.
Empire beat OpTic twice. Crim, by the way, today's match is a prime example of how you act after a win versus your rivals.
Yeah, that was off the first
one. You
one.
don't scream in their face and kick them when they're down. That is how cowards act. And that isn't me, and it isn't us either.
Such a troll.
Rivals are always pushing you to be better. So it's very, very much a Crim tweet.
I love it.
Crim, I think the crap he's been getting from OpTic fans and OpTic, from Formal especially, started getting to him. And if you saw after the match when they beat him the second time, over there, just fist bumps and out of there.
When he did his little arm thing.
Oh,
in
yeah.
the back, you see the clip of the background.
So
Formal's
great.
like, bro, like looking at Scump, and then Crim's in the background. Like,
the ultimate boss.
loved it. It was so funny. It was comedy.
So in a way, I feel pretty good for Crim. I feel bad for the OpTic guys. I do want them to like get something stringing together.
At this point, it'd be a cool redemption story for them to like win or like finish top 3 at this point.
Yeah, no joke.
So
I'm talking Dallas or OpTic?
No, OpTic. Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, do you think at this point, because Formal was kind of like, yo, GG's, Crim deserves it, like deserves to talk to us, like, we played like crap. If OpTic were to beat Empire in stage 5, like and eliminate them from does Formal get up and start talking?
I don't know, honestly.
At this point,
I don't
Crim's
know.
been more chill about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so I don't know.
It almost seems
it'd be hard for him to do it because you know that immediately
Crim's
there
gonna
will
be like, yeah.
not even Crim, just people will be all over that.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Quote
Crim
tweeting
did,
these
like,
things, yeah.
the respect, thing.
Yeah.
Like, not a cow, like,
I almost feel like
I don't think they'll do it.
no. I almost feel like almost kind of like I think all the OpTic guys in general have kind of gotten a huge taste of humble pie.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, wow. Like they were talking and all that. So even if they do go on to beat Dallas, I don't know. I think they're going to be a little bit more reserved.
Another bold prediction that you did have in that video was that OpTic would not be a top 4 team by champs. Which, I mean, right now,
they're pretty much
that's
fifth.
basically
right
the case right now.
Yeah.
They're fifth, probably. Spoilers.
We'll see.
And last but not least, if y'all didn't know, Huke was not there at the majors. Pretty crazy times.
Shocker.
Huke, they needed to take COVID tests before going to the LAN, and Huke
Something
did not get the
wrong.
COVID test the night before.
My name's Kywer.
And then the day of, they're doing the rapid test, and he misspelled his name, and then it doesn't count.
Because they couldn't freaking find it, dude. No chance, bro. It's insane. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it just really sucks. Obviously, that was just the huge drama of the day with all the different stories on the first day of the tournament. Like, what did Huke do? Was he late? Did he forget his ID? Did he spell his name wrong? Was it irresponsible? Was it a real mistake? What was the issue here? And so, it was a weird time sorting that all out.
Oh, and the way the timing with it too is like literally like all the Adderall drama, his big 30-minute video.
I know.
Yeah, dude.
Explaining why he dropped from Empire, then he was dropped from Thieves,
and
he
then
picked up by
Empire finished
Thieves.
top 2. And
Then
now
Empire finished top
supposedly
2.
Crim's still going to
We're
drop
still
this
waiting for the video.
if that happens, explaining his side of the story. Although at this point, I think Crim might feel bad.
He might.
Man, this sucks. This sucks.
I mean, I feel bad for Huke, but yeah, unfortunate circumstances for him for sure. Do you think this does anything to his stock or anything like that in the league?
Doesn't help.
No.
That's for sure. I mean, I lean that in the long term it won't matter because I think he's still going to be on LA Thieves at this point, heading into champs or in stage 5.
Yeah. The one reason why I think he'd be okay
Draws is pretty good.
Nate Shot did kind of go out of his way to defend him. Like when Jake Lucky was kind of like conspiracy theorist,
Yeah, Nate kind of got pissed.
Yeah, Nate got pissed and just said this is just a simple mistake. Like this is nothing more than that. And so it's just pretty much like all this piled on a Huke at the worst time possible for him. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're starting without him next stage.
Really?
I mean, I don't know. They lost. They lost. The one they played without him, they
was
lost
on
to
a
LAG.
1 day
I know, that's the thing.
notice, but yeah, not ideal either way though.
No.
I don't think it's gonna affect his stock that much. If this if it happens again, obviously it's like now you just got an issue. Be like, it's a one-time thing. I would be prepared to be like, all right, we won't, just don't do it again.
Right.
If it happens again, then you're really running. But I think as a stock, because he's just a really good player, people in the league really like him.
I suppose you are looking to champs now, and they are pretty much fine for champs. So
yeah,
they're probably going to keep rolling with Huke and.
Yeah, it just really sucked, man. It's just so unfortunate that we had, Asim who didn't get to play, and then you have Huke who wasn't able to play. So you lost like 2 big time teams not able to play, and that really hurt the storylines, I think, heading into the tournament.
It really did.
Just because, and then that opened the door and those 2 things really opened the door for Dallas to make the run too, which was crazy, which we'll talk about more in a second. But yeah, as a whole, just insane, just crazy. But yeah, I mean,
that's it.
Oh,
for news of the week.
The other thing, Asim announced that he is finally getting his visa, and he will be in the States by the end of the week.
Yes. So he will be here.
That is huge. New York should have almost 100% guaranteed have Asim. He says, cannot wait to fly and move to Texas this week. Finally, some good news. I'm getting my visa tomorrow.
That's awesome.
So they should have him by next week, which is great. Great news. And we'll have New York back at full power with Asim on Dallas Internet, which is fantastic news for them. So that's exciting. And then you can take that news into our power rankings and breakdown conversation.
Oh,
So
baby.
we're going to be doing a power rankings, but also, was kind of like Trojan horsing this thing with the breakdown of the event, sneaking it in
Psych.
there. Yeah. So we're kind of just we're just kind of throwing them both in there. The breakdown, the power rankings, mixing them together. We're going to be going team by team. So without further ado, let's hit this drop and let's talk about who's some absolute trash garbage.
Trash. Garbage.
Oh, baby. All right. So, again, how we're going to do this, we're going to be going in the reverse order of this. We're just going to go reverse order of the standings, talk team by team, and then reveal where we have those teams in our power rankings and kind of talk about it there. We kind of have all like created a rough estimate of where we have these teams in our power rankings. You're allowed to change it as we continue to talk if some things change your mind, but just, it'll be a fun conversation and a fun little process to go off of here. So just again, doing our breakdown as well. So obviously it was a crazy weekend, tons of storylines all the way throughout. And that's what we're going to be talking about first. So obviously last place in the standings right now, tough stuff. Seattle Surge, our last place in the standings, but not last place in our hearts.
No.
Seattle Surge made a run at this major, beating both London and Paris. Octane showing up and showing out, falling short just barely in a game 5 to OpTic.
Mm-hmm. So
So what are your thoughts on Seattle Surge and where do you guys got these guys in your power rankings?
Oh man, Seattle. I guess they really are on lanners. It's like it's just a tough situation for them because clearly like they can play better than what we've been seeing all year. The way they're able to they dominated Paris and Ravens pretty convincingly, and then you go with the OpTic one, was super close game in OpTic, top 5 team, and can you ever imagine Surge doing anything remotely close to what they did against OpTic?
Right.
So clearly they're looking good, but there's no chance for them to make champs anymore.
No, they are absolutely done for. Yeah, they are. They're 90 points back of Florida. All hope's lost. All hope's lost. Tough stuff.
Just tough. But I mean, just based on their last performance, if the consistency can stay, which I kind of think it will, I think they got revitalized from this. I mean, I have them in my power rankings at 8th.
Oh,
Which is
nice.
pretty high.
Wow.
Interesting.
Pretty high.
That's a
But
spicy one off the rip.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Wow.
I know it's high, but I think there's a lot like they just showed me a lot during the event. And I started to believe in them more. I'm like, if they would have been doing this all year, they would probably be at champs.
Dang, that's
why they got
spicy.
8th.
That's exciting. Sam, where do you have the Surge?
So I guess just talk about how I view them during the LAN. Obviously, Gunnless and Octane, phenomenal performance. We pretty much knew what they're capable of, right? I didn't know if they would put on that kind of a clinic or
I mean, yeah. In those first 2 matchups, Octane
great.
was unreal.
Just insane. 30-13 in like one map, I think. It was just like, holy cow.
Disgusting.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a hard one, and this definitely goes towards that argument of the format change of these guys could obviously potentially place really well at champs, but now they don't get the chance to because we're basing their standings off online play.
Yeah,
And
some people are
clearly
pissed
they are-
about that.
And clearly they're better on LAN than they are online. That was clear to see. But in terms of power rankings, I do have them at 9.
Okay.
Instead-
Yep.
Not
Same.
not 8. This team, again, it's crazy to think that you have Octane and Gunnless, those types of names on this team that's 9th. Like, what in the world? So they clearly have potential. I think we still saw struggles from Classic and Pristini. Not always. They're just going to be your X factors there, Not much else to say there, I suppose. But yeah, these guys are done for this year. But
Not for stage 5.
not for stage 5.
Not for
though.
stage 5. I mean, that's the thing. At the end of the day, the teams who don't make champs at least get the chance to win stage 5 and play for money there. I mean, that's the worst case scenario, I guess. Obviously not ideal. I mean, we didn't really have that debate about like other sports or how that compares, but we'll definitely be talking about that more in the future too. So I guess it kind of depends. But yeah, I'm definitely torn with Seattle because they did make some unbelievable plays, and And you could see the upside for them, like as like a top 8 type team.
Mm-hmm.
But like, do you still expect that consistency from them on a game to game basis? And it's just hard to see that happening.
I think if it's on LAN, if you get fans in the crowd, like that team is going to have fans. And I really believe that they like just the sheer momentum of being on LAN and then having fans there is going to help that Seattle team a lot. And I think they would get it. I think they could get 8th seed.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. It's just, that's the thing. At the end of the day, we're power ranking based off of like, now you have to consider what LAN will be like. But at the same time, the next 5 matches we see them play will be played online, you know? So that is tough when it comes to the placements for stage 5 as well. But, you know, with that in mind now, I think the Surge will be playing probably a more consistent Call of Duty. But at the same time, you know, even though they have won, 4 controls in a row, and they played some good COD along the way. But again, they beat Legion and London.
Right.
And
that's it.
Yeah, and then before that they lost to the Legion. They beat OpTic, but then they got beat by OpTic. So it's like it's a pretty dang small sample size, and we don't see them beating any of the top 6 or 7 teams. And so it's hard to get that much more hyped about Seattle than we are right now. That's why I have them at 9 as well. And moving forward, I am still very interested to see what they can do moving forward, though. I could see a world where they can continue to improve and make a run now that they have a little bit of momentum going their way.
Yeah.
But I'm not putting my money on it, though, for sure.
Did they still go hard, you think, in the stage?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they had a fever dream for champs anyway, like let alone they're trying to win money at these stages at this point. So
stock too.
Yeah, and stock heading into next year, this is huge for all of their careers. I mean, again,
well,
like,
they need the stock.
Yeah, and we talked about that with like Pristini, Gunless, Classic. Those guys, they need the good reputation heading into the offseason probably. So those are the question marks for them for sure. And I'm still looking forward to watching more Seattle. Again, we can still talk about maybe some of these teams a little bit in the future and like maybe justify our decisions when we have more other teams to compare their placings off of. So we'll go from there. But all right, next up is the London Royal Ravens, one of Seattle's opponents for the weekend. What are your thoughts on the London Royal Ravens? Where do you have them?
Not good. That's for sure. Not
tough.
good.
That's tough, man.
Alex, I think he needs to go. This team got worse with the change, with Alex and Afro coming in.
Yeah, that's what's tough.
And then at this point, again, they're pretty much not going to be at champs. So this decision is with this current roster. I think they should have made a change, but at this point, I don't think they will. I have them at 12.
Dang, that's tough, man. That's tough. I was going back and forth on both of these teams, and yeah, that was my thing and I 100% agree with you. I had them at 12 as well, unless they make a change, and I'm right on the same page. I'm like, if they make a roster change, they won't be at 12 for me, but you know, they need the Hail Mary play too.
Yeah, the fact that you get rid of Zed, who truly was your catalyst player,
and Zaptius,
and Zap, it blows my mind.
For a guy who hadn't really played any real competitive COD at a high level for 2-3 months.
I would love to know who truly thought this change would have made this team better.
I mean, you had to really believe in Alex. And again, I liked Alex going into this year a lot, but if you don't play COD for that long, it's hard to imagine that it's going to be like...
But guys, they promised Alex his spot back.
Apparently
so.
That's so tough.
It just doesn't make sense.
Drew Bledsoe was promised his spot back until Tom Brady came along.
Like, he was better.
That's kind of how it works.
Just how business works.
Yeah, that's how it works. I don't know. It's tough, you know? Alex Smith was the starter until Patrick Mahomes came along. Like, it's just kind of how it works.
I agree with the sentiments. I have London at 12th.
Okay. So, yeah, full as a sweep there. At the end of the day, like, what are the odds you think that they make a change? Is there any chance they make a change this week or in the next few days heading into stage 5?
I don't think so. I don't think
they've already got the record for most roster changes. We don't need to. They're
not
going to do it again.
Why not? They may as well keep it up.
I suppose. I don't think they expend their resources.
I guess it's like
time.
What are the odds if we spend X amount of dollars? What are the odds that these X amount of dollars turn into
stage
2? I mean, they can
4.
do 2 2-week contracts with a player and say, hey, you can play with us till stage 5. But
But
again,
there's no point. Like,
No,
there's no,
that's-
if they're
that's
not
the-
making champs, like, why
Right.
spend the money?
And the top elite AM players are like, I can probably make more money in challengers and maybe save my what if stock for this offseason.
Exactly.
So that there is the idea. I mean, the fact that we even have to talk about like a what if stock, which is like legitimately a thing at this point, is pretty comedy.
Wild.
Mhm.
But yeah, I agree. So I mean, like I would put it at like, I think it's actually more likely than maybe you guys. I'd put like a 30% chance that there's a roster change.
I give it like 5%.
Okay, Rex, what's your
Yeah,
percentage?
5%, 10%.
Dang, that's tough.
Low.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine they really make any big time move to get inside that top 8 again here, or just like as a competitive elite team heading into stage 5.
Yeah, and we might be gassing this a little bit. I do think London has potential with their squad to
to be
do
like
better.
competitive. Yes,
Yeah.
I agree with you. But like at this point, for those bottom 4 teams, your eyes are set on competing for a top 4 spot at stage 5. Like
Mhm.
getting top 4 at stage 5 is your goal to win some money. It's your only goal here. And with Alex, it just seems so unlikely, and less unlikely than, you know, the other teams who are going to be at 11 or 10 or 9 or 8, you know? So that's kind of where I'm at with it too. So, alrighty.
Yeah.
Well, that's about it for London. So we can head on to number 10 in this current standings, which is Paris Legion. 10 in the standings, but where do you got them in your power rankings, Sam?
So right off the rip, I've got them at 11. It's,
I have them at 11 too.
Okay.
This squad is rough. It's
Man.
like we talked about last time. For me, it's going to be Scraps being the guy that if he's popping off, then this team can go places. I just don't see the consistency in Scraps right now. Personally, I know he has a potential. I know he does. It just seems this team is not clicking.
Yeah.
It seems this roster from the beginning, they had like one shining moment where they beat who did they beat
Early on?
earlier on? Yeah, I'm
A great team.
yeah, a good, you know, a decent team where like Scraps kind of went off and all that.
They beat the Ultra, they beat the Rokkr early on, stage 1,
Mhm.
stage 2. Then they beat the Mutineers in stage 2.
Yeah, 3 or 4.
They beat Mutineers
or
again.
3. Yeah,
And then they beat LA Thieves lately. So they've had some
Thieves
moments.
maybe,
They've had
yeah.
some moments.
but do you see that? Do you see it more than that? Having moments, I
Yeah.
don't.
No.
Unfortunately. And I really do like Zap. I think Zap kind of got screwed here going from that change to from London to here. I think his potential was kind of squandered this year a little bit.
We saw some impressive Scraps plays though. I mean, like that series against the Surge most recently at the end of stage. I mean, again, they played the Surge and they beat them. Then they rematched against the Surge and they lose 3-0. That sucks.
Yeah.
And we saw a really, really good Scraps at points in stage 4. We saw a really, really good Aqua during stage 4 again. You know, because again, they went 2 and 3 in stage 4 with wins against LA Thieves and against the Surge. Took a map off FaZe, took a map off Rokkr, took a map off OpTic. Like they were very competitive.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I have Paris at 10.
Yeah.
You know, right there, but just not. Again, Surge has shown way more upside, and they've proven that they can at least beat those teams. That's why you're kind of like leaning with Paris at 10. I do like the upside still of this squad more than spoiler, at 10 at 11 I'm gonna have LAG.
Mm-hmm.
Like than LAG specifically, just because yes, you have mental, but like we haven't seen him dominate the AM scene yet. At the same time, Zapdius, I still think bringing in Zapdius and with the squad they currently have with Temp, there's still a little bit of untapped potential there, at least in my head, for the squad to move up a little bit. That's kind of why I'm just seeing the plays there. And just with the game modes in itself as well, we've seen Legion be very good in S&D, and that can translate for a while too, and end up being pretty consistent too moving forward. So that's kind of my reasoning for why Paris would be ahead of like LAG. But yeah, I mean, any other thoughts there on Paris?
It's
Let's talk LAG. Oh, sorry.
All righty, sounds good. Let's talk LAG.
What?
Let's do it, baby. Number 9 in the standings
Wait,
is.
did you say FLAG or let's talk LAG?
No, let's talk
said
LAG.
let's
I
talk.
thought you said just FLAG.
No,
I was
no,
like,
man.
where did that come from?
I think the camera did kind of skip a little bit, though.
I was so caught off guard. Oh my god.
Yeah, no,
LAG is really pissing me off.
Rex just has this like built up
anger over
towards
the last
LAG.
10 minutes or the last 20 minutes towards LAG. Okay, yeah. So again, we've already talked LAG,
Yes.
but why in your head is LAG have a better chance of being, or at least a little bit better in your heads than like Paris or London or where that they have that for you?
Because LAG is like a shield with no sword. They can like block things and they can like get something kind of moving, but they just cannot kill anything. And it's just unless they just bash it to death
actually.
with
That's
the
nice.
shield. It's like almost there, but they just don't have a sword. And so they're just never gonna get anybody. Because somebody with a sword, they can go to game 5, but they're the one with the sword, so they're the only one that can actually kill. So like LAG it frustrates me with LAG in that way because I think it's there, but they just can't close it.
Yeah, it's almost like they feel like it's like a sprinter fighting like a UFC fighter. It's like the sprinter can run away forever and ever, but he's never gonna KO the UFC fighter. You know, he can just survive.
Right.
You know, and that's kind of I could see that argument.
the
Sam?
reason I have them above Paris is because I think their sword is mental.
Ooh, I like
Dude,
it.
I
like
just don't know about that
Well,
take though,
No,
Sam.
no. I
you live
I-
off faith around here.
am.
Any
I
new
am-
guy that comes in from another game, Sam is like, they're probably gonna be the best player ever.
I am a man of faith, and I have put my faith in a lot of people.
To be
I
fair.
will admit.
I mean, Frosty's the only one that hasn't been like great, but he wasn't bad.
He wasn't bad. I am just stating that I think with this roster, LAG's ceiling is higher than Paris and London, and I'll stick
But
by that.
if Paris
I
was
do
playing
too.
LAG in 2 weeks,
Mhm.
I think LAG wins.
It's possible they lose, but I'm saying it's possible they can.
but you're
3-0
putting your
them.
faith.
I'm putting my faith
in LAG.
and mental.
Right.
That's basically where this 10 over Paris comes from.
I mean, yeah, it's
for me.
purely based off the roster change
Yes.
at the end of the day and what you believe about it. So that's fair.
Yeah.
I guess I've always been, usually live my life more like I need to see it before I believe it type situation a lot of the times.
which is fair.
And yeah, no, for sure. So that's totally reasonable. I mean, at the end of the day, we are talking a lot about LAG. So I guess we can move on to number 8 on the standings, which is the Florida Mutineers. This team's really interesting. Obviously, they're 8th in the standings right now. That's what we're talking about next. And the upside is there for this squad. Obviously,
is.
we finally saw Rex. I'm sorry to tell you, but Neptune looked pretty freaking great this weekend.
I know. Neptune, I mean, he's been looking good a lot.
I think you counter jinxed him. The second you said this might be
really
a turning
did.
point for him
It
in
really
the
did.
downturn, it went just straight up.
I know. He must have
skyrocketing.
watched and was like,
To the
fuck
moon.
Rex.
Yeah.
There we go.
Let's talk Rex.
Screw
Let's talk
Rex.
Rex. What we would say.
Yeah, no, but he was great, obviously, and really finally showed what this could look like for Neptune. That was against LAG, and then they dominated in the first map against the Subliners, and that's where he would dominate and fried. But then they lost the freaking series. Come on, man! You can't put
It's
away
Classic Mutineers of
You
old.
can't put away NYSL like this. Are you kidding me?
Oh.
Dude, I was losing full. I was like, there's no way for to lose this, right? There's no way. I mean, no chance they're going to lose both S&Ds to the Subliners. And then there you go. They won both hard points, which again, a little surprising. I guess that shows Asim's value in hard point and what he brings to that squad and how important he is around the map. And Clay kind of said that in his post-game interview about how hard it is to replace Asim and what he does around the maps. And but Decimate's a good S&D player. And when you put him with 3 other good S&D players, suddenly they're really freaking good at S&D apparently. Who would have thought? And Florida couldn't figure out a way to beat them. And they lose the control on raid, which was really surprising as well. And just overall thoughts on this Florida team and where they're at in your power rankings, man.
I personally really do like that. I think they very unfortunate series versus New York. Obviously, I know this was a pickup team, but that is kind of taken away from.
Clay made that very clear.
He did. He did stamp his frame. But I think that comment is taken away from how good the core three are. Because yeah, they're a pickup team, but they are still incredible players, and Estimate is still an incredible player. And again, it does seem it was the S&Ds that was taking out Florida. All that to say, I have them at 7 in my power rankings.
Oh. All that to say, you have him at 7. Geez, that you were really hyping him up, man.
I know. Basically, I was just arguing why I don't have him at 8.
I love it.
But no, I really do like where this team is going, and I think they can figure it out more and more.
Man,
but it's hard though, because I am anxious, or not anxious. I am hesitant to put them any higher because we haven't seen a dominant Mutineers yet. We haven't seen like.
The only time we saw the flash of it was against Toronto in the first series of Stage 4.
Yes.
And they won Game 5. It was insane. It was really, really good Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like the arrival of Florida.
Which I know that was also a standoff.
There was with standoff.
That was the first time we saw standoff. So like, you could
say.
They
won both S&Ds. They stole the map 1 raid hardpoint, which was the most impressive map of that series.
Definitely. So, I guess I have yet to see like confirmation back to back games where like Mutineers are okay. This is the squad that's going to be dominant. That's why I have them at 7.
Yeah, I mean that was tough, and the loss to New York just makes no sense because they lost in a Game 5 to Dallas, and then we saw the rise of Dallas, and then maybe Dallas was more legit than we thought originally. Because that was their last match of Stage 4, and then they had beat. Again, like I said, they beat Ultra. They 3-0'd Ravens. They lost in a close Game 5 to the Subliners, taking 2 respawns off of them, a hard point and a control off of them. And so you're like, okay, wow, they're taking 2 respawns off of the Subliners. That's a legit play right there. Of course, that was when Hydra was a little sick, and those excuses that they did have that were pretty legit. Then you go into an LAG series where they win 3-1. They did lose a Garrison control, which was a little bit worrying. But then they go on and play Dallas. And again, this is where I thought Florida would kind of like, all right, we're the team. But then they lose to the Empire. And maybe that should have been my warning sign. Like, okay, maybe Florida is just not there yet. But man, it was hard not to get hyped after you see Neptune doing that in map 1 of that Subliner series. And then they end up losing. I mean, Rex, what are your thoughts?
Mutineers seems like a lot. It seems a very individualistic team. I think they could do with more teamwork, and I feel like that's what Havoc brought, and we did see, I feel like, an upgrade into how they were performing once Havoc came to that team.
And more consistent performances from the squad, yeah.
Right, and I don't even think it's because Havoc's like this such a great player, but I think Havoc's a unifier.
He's a good communicator too.
He's a good communicator, a good unifier, and he can get everybody else start to communicate and working together more, which I feel like that's Mutineers' biggest problem is just teamwork. You can watch, we'll watch FaZe where it's the most obvious, where it's like Simpin and BZ are just a pack of wolves.
Yeah.
Running around like
every trade comes through. They never miss a kill. They're playing together.
Like, they're just in sync. Whereas with Mutineers, they're all super good, but they don't work it out together. They're not flowing together. It's just they win their one-on-ones or they don't.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's fair. That's really fair. And that's a tough debate is, what causes the Mutineers to collapse? Like, what is this thing? Because we see them play incredible maps against very good teams where you're like, wow, this is such a good map for them. Like when they beat the Subliners on Apocalypse, you're like, dude, this was such a good map. And they beat the Subliners on a raid control. This was in there during the stage. And we were like, these are some incredible maps. Like I said, they beat Toronto on raid, and they look so good in those series. And then it's like they just can't string together back-to-back good performances. And I really do think there is some sort of aspect of it when it comes to like pressure, confidence, in-game comms, and like the hecticness and like the in-game leadership aspects. I 100% agree with you, Rex.
Leadership for sure.
Those in-game calls and just playing like, yo, breathe. Let's like calm down, play patiently, play together as a unit. There's just something that just goes wrong mid-game, and it's hard to predict. It's really hard to predict and know when that's going to happen. So that's my biggest kind of worries with the Mutineers. And all that said, I have them at 6. I considered having them at 5. I was really, really close to having them there. and I decided I'm going to pull the trigger, leave them at 6 for now, probably a little bit safer kind of in the middle. But I still think that this team is still primed to make that run at champs. They got their eyes set. You give this team another month to work together and figure out those rhythms and timings and communication, how they play off of each other. As long as they stay patient and don't let these losses boil over into something that like really tears them apart, I think this team could really figure this thing out heading into champs. So Rex, where do you have them?
I also have them at 6.
Okay. Also, if you could type in your power rankings into the sheet, that'd be great. So then we can show the sheet. But yeah, at 6. So okay, so you have them at 7. I have them at 6. Rex has them at 6. So we are rocking and rolling right there with some of these squads. So with that said, now we can transition into the next team here, which is the LA Thieves, who are currently sitting at 7 in the standings, 10 points ahead of the Florida Mutineers, and 20 points behind the Rokkr. So obviously, we didn't really learn much about LA Thieves this weekend.
Rough.
Not much. We learned zero, literally none, because about this roster and what this could look like moving forward. One thing we did learn is that Draza's pretty good, and I really want to see Draza in this starting lineup. And I want to hear you guys' thoughts about LA Thieves and where this team could go from here. Sam, what are you thinking?
Yeah, basically just a series of unfortunate events for the LA Thieves.
Over and over.
Oh, just this team. So when they played, obviously it was so cool to see Slasher back. I mean, he was playing incredibly. I think he's still a dominant
Slasher looked good.
presence on the map for sure. Draza for stepping in, he didn't look terrible. Obviously, the team meshing wasn't quite there, which is to be expected. And so it's hard. It's hard to predict where these guys should be. Because again,
it's really hard.
It seems like every time they play,
This is a full-on projection.
yeah, it's not who they really are. So,
Yeah.
what do you take into that?
At the end of the day, it's what do you believe about Kenny, Slasher, Huke, and Tej? And what can this roster do moving forward? And if you think that there's a 100% chance that this is going to be the roster, even though I wish that Draza was in for Tej, at the end of the day, it's a full-on projection. So where do you have them?
This was hard for me.
Yeah. Oh, you're really contemplating.
I'm debating now.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Roll us through your process here.
originally I did have him at 8
Okay.
behind Mutineer.
Okay. Fair play.
The 6, 7, 8 was weird because
Yeah, it's tough.
I was thinking of Rokkr 2 at 6,
For sure.
but I think I'm projecting Thieves to be higher than Rokkr. And I like
Man, that's what's tough.
It's hard.
It's really tough. And obviously, again, once we get through these teams, maybe we can talk about them a little bit more kind of in comparison.
Yeah.
So, and again, you're willing to change if in the future if you
Yes.
like. But Rex, where do you have yours? Where do you have LA Thieves?
Man, people are going to think I am so faded for this and I'm the biggest LA Thieves hater. I have them at 9.
Dang. Okay.
And I have them below the Surge. It's just
Wow.
my initial reactions. And then the way LA Thieves has been all year, all season, it's like, they're going to be so great. And then they aren't. They're going to be so great. And then they aren't. It's constant failure. And I guess maybe I'm pushing back too hard on like the bias I feel like comes with the names and the brand that is LA Thieves. So maybe I'm fighting too far against it, or like I want to not have that bias. But I have them at 9.
Man, yeah, that's tough. It's really, really tough. And I mean, what in your opinion is the problem there? And what would it take for them to kind of move up to top 7 or like to 8?
Inconsistencies.
6.
Like it just,
What do you see for this
nothing is
roster moving
working
forward though? I mean, they haven't really even played with this roster. I mean, they played 2 maps or two matches with this roster, 1.5 like technically.
Right. Exactly. So like, what do I see? Like maybe they'll stick together, but this is just everything about it tells me this is the OpTic gaming team of Los Angeles in Modern Warfare. This is what this is, and they just weren't that great last year. But and everyone kind of thought, oh, they're there. Then they never were until champs.
Yeah.
So like we'll see the same sort of thing here now, maybe, but maybe LAN will change things up with Huke on LAN. I don't know. But based on what we've seen, this is where I have him at.
That's fair.
Yeah, I do put heavy emphasis on Huke and Slasher on LAN. I wish we could have seen those two together.
Right.
So unfortunate. So I've decided I'm gonna put them at 6. So I'm putting them at 6.
Wow. Ahead of Florida. You are confident.
I'm confident. I did like what I see, or I did like what I saw. You saw.
You like the merchandise.
You like the
merchandise.
So yeah, I'm projecting that this roster that should have been playing will be better.
At what point do you think they will be a top? Like, when do they achieve the top 6? Obviously, I'd imagine you don't think they're going to be top 6 like next match.
No.
Over the coming few weeks by stage 5.
I feel like we had this exact question last year in Modern Warfare.
I think we did.
That's all I'm saying.
Sure.
We always say this stuff, and then it never has happened.
Here's my question, though. You replace, if they're willing to move Draza in for TJ, does that change your opinion?
Do you think the team would be better with Draza than Tej? Because I think it probably would at this point.
Absolutely, it would.
I mean, I think it could. Yes, I think there's some sort of like, I don't know, intangible piece that's just missing from the team, organizational or something like that. It just isn't quite clicking.
Yeah.
It's
I
not
just
the
think
players.
Draza's a
The
really,
players
really
aren't
good player.
bad.
He's really good.
And I think he deserves to be a starter, and it's a shame that he's not one. And if he's not starting on LA Thieves, he should be starting on someone next year, because I think he just deserves to be there.
Yeah.
He's just really good.
Yeah.
And we've seen it now in back-to-back games where he was pretty dang good at Modern Warfare too, and he just didn't get a chance to really do much. So we'll see. I think it would be the best move for them, but I think we can also talk in comparison. So I'm going to have LA Thieves at 8, kind of in between you guys here. And then our next team we're talking about is the Minnesota Rokkr. And they're currently 6th in the standings, for pro points, or for CDL points. So I guess I'll lead the way. I have them at 7. So that kind of fills out my bottoms, or my bottom 6 right now. So for your YouTube audience, we'll switch over there right now to check this out. We're rocking there the top 6. I got Mutineers, Rokkr, LA Thieves, Surge, Paris, LAG, London from 6 to 12. And my thought process with the Rokkr versus LA Thieves is just that, we know what we're going to get with the Rokkr over the next few weeks. I think they're going to continue to kind of improve with Major Maniac. And we were already starting to see some of the glimpses of the improvement, I think, this weekend, and what this team can and could be. I still get really excited by the prospects of what this team could be. I mean, again, they 3-0'd the Subliners. They took care of business, and we were confident that would happen in our prediction video, and they looked really, really good. And the Subliners beat Florida the next freaking match. Like, this was a really solid win for the Rokkr, and keeping them inside that top 6 or 7. Obviously, you get 3-0'd by FaZe.
Mm-hmm.
Then you end up losing to OpTic 3-1. But that was a pretty competitive series as a whole too. And I still see some upside for this team. I would be very surprised if they end up competing for like a top 3, top 4. It doesn't feel like they have that sort of upside right now, but they're going to be a very competitive team in that top 6 range.
My counter argument to that would be they beat Subliners the first time that those players were playing together.
Yeah.
And so
you're saying the Subliners are just an inherently better team the second time around?
Yes.
One day later, less than 24 hours.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I agree with Sam.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's hard. I don't have a ton of faith right now in Major Maniac, and maybe that's the difference between you and me. Is you said you were kind of excited for them to grow. I don't know if I see Major Maniac being that Maniac that they need him to be. Attached to, I think we did see some. We've seen some.
Attached has been a little bit disappointing the last few weeks.
Yeah,
I agree.
We've seen some great moments from him, but again, that question of consistency is there. And then of course Sandy is just a phenomenal player, but it kind of, to me, Rokkr seems like
they're the classic example. They can beat the bad teams.
Yes.
They just cannot
Exactly.
beat a top 6 team.
Yeah.
I mean, dating back to their last top 6 win would have been against OpTic in stage 2 when they had the miracle lineup.
That's right.
In round 11.
Yep.
But besides that, they beat Legion, LAG, Paris, Seattle, LA Thieves, and then they beat the Subliners at the major, but you wouldn't say they were a top 6 team at the major.
At the beginning, yeah.
With them there, so yeah, they just continue to lose to the FaZes, the OpTic's, the Empires, the Ultra when they've played them, the Mutineers, the Mutineers beat them. So that's the problem here, is why I see them just right outside of that top 6. And that's why they sit at 7 for me. So pretty straightforward. Any other thoughts there with the Rokkr and what this team could be? Rex, I mean, what do you see the upside as the Rokkr moving forward?
I mean, I don't want to reiterate things, but I have Rokkr at 7th. I think Priesta has a chance to keep growing as a player. I think he's shown glimmers of possibly getting better, but it might be a little too late. And I see some, team organizational things that's why they can't beat these top teams. I mean, FaZe just like the, poster boy of just organized killers, whereas Rokkr, if you just look at the two gameplays, it's just, they are not the same.
Yeah, no, I was really excited about that win against New York, and I thought they came off of that like, okay, they showed a lot of really good things here. Although I did still say they're going to get 3-0'd by FaZe, which inherently did happen. But that was more because FaZe is just that good at this point.
They're so good.
But that's why I was just a little bit disappointed that FaZe didn't put up. I honestly thought Rokkr could beat OpTic. I was really hoping it would go to a game 5 because we've seen Rokkr play some good hardpoint recently and some good good controls as well. But yeah, that's the thing. At the end of the day, I just don't have any confidence in them beating a top 6 team, and that's why they're at 7. So, alrighty. With that said, heading into our top 6 here, OpTic Chicago is 5th in the standings. Where are they in your power rankings?
5th.
Very excited to see
OpTic 5th in mine.
Yeah,
this is the easy 5.
They're 5th. I mean, I would be surprised if most fans don't have them at 5 right now. With the return of Asim back to New York and all these things, we've seen OpTic play very well against some of these teams, but they just can't convert.
1 through 4 is just too much better. too much.
Wow,
too
dude,
better.
Let's go.
English is hard.
That's really impressive, dude.
1 through 4 is way better than 5 through 12.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
That's where this comes from.
I would imagine. Well, it'll be interesting. We might not have the exact same top 5, but it'll be pretty close, I'd imagine. Yeah, that's the thing. At the end of the day, OpTic lose both series to the Empire. That's tough. And not only that, but they only took 1 map off of them, which is also really tough. And again, when you see them making the simple mistakes, and this is maybe we can have our OpTic conversation here. When you see them making the simple mistakes that they made in that Empire series and in the rematch, in the losers semis, you're just like, whoa, like, how are they making mistakes like this on a Moscow hardpoint in a map that they've been really good on this year? And you're making mistakes like letting Empire run straight through the middle of the map. You're giving up the spawns on P2 by pushing out too far up the map and not anchoring it. You're mistiming your breaks. Like, these are small things, and they like Vivid popped like a 2-piece like on P1. You're just like, how is these trades not coming through? There's just all of these small things. You're just like
Overchell and everything.
Right. And then they continue to tweet like, yeah, it's just small mistakes. But at some point, if you have tons of small mistakes, those are big mistakes.
That's
like, those are the difference in pro matches are small mistakes. That's how it works.
That's probably the most frustrating thing for, if you're an OpTic fan, is seeing their tweets. It's like, they're pretty much saying small mistakes and we just didn't show up. It's like, at what point does it become more than that? Because we've seen this time and time again, which, not to say like, because this is going to be like a whole separate thing for like Scum's tweet and seeing like the hate on social media, like not saying like to hate on them, but at some point maybe it internally for their team, make a roster move maybe.
Oh, no, right? No roster move. No way. What are you going to do? It's like, you're going to bring in general for formal. Like, what are you going to do? There's no way.
I don't know.
Rex, I want to hear your thoughts before I start ranting.
I feel like they need oddly enough, I feel like they need somebody, and maybe Envoy is this guy kind of, but I feel like, I don't know. I feel like Envoy is hard to gain the respect of maybe Scump and Formal sometimes, but they need somebody like Crim who can just be that general, that he's just like, this is how we do things. And so I feel like that's what they're lacking, is like, it's almost like they're too chill with each other.
Too laissez-faire.
Almost too laissez-faire with each other. Where like, you know, I don't know how much they're roasting each other about different things. I'm sure they get team issues and drama or whatever, but these simple mistakes need to be ironed out. And usually they're ironed out is just by putting it in their face and like rubbing their nose and like, hey, this has to be fixed. And it's hard to hear and it's hard to face that, but like, this is what has to happen.
Yeah.
That's what somebody like Crim does. Like we look at the top, you know, FaZe, I think they have players that are like that. They're very invested in the game and how it's working. And they clearly work really well. They're a well-oiled machine. OpTic, you can't say that OpTic's a machine.
Not consistently.
New York, you can see they have this machine. They have this Clay, who's that ironing out guy. Dallas, Crim6, that ironing out guy. And then you have Ultra.
Yeah.
You have Bance probably over there.
Yeah,
Marky B is the coach, who's a very strong voiced coach.
For sure. That's my thing. And this is kind of where my rant begins is the idea of before you make a roster change or something that like drastically shifts this whole identity of the team, you know, and not every CDL team has an absolutely stacked, built out coaching staff, but most of the top teams do. The majority of the top teams do. And I really do think that there is something to this with having not just a head coach, but an assistant coach, an analyst, and an S&D analyst. I legitimately think there's something to this. And OpTic refuses to have more than just a head coach. Doesn't make much sense to me. At the end of the day,
no.
Before you blow up the roster, I think you need more eyes and ears on this team and providing more feedback, a more structured plan of attack for even the small moments. And when you have more eyes on the team, it allows you to develop like smaller, detailed plans for certain situations, propose that to the team, and like it just gives you more eyes as a whole and more feedback. I don't know why you wouldn't want that, and it's just always weird to me that OpTic hasn't really tried to do that. Like, is there an argument for not having an analyst or not having an assistant coach or not having an S&D analyst to help you with these small, minute details, creating counter strats for teams that you're playing, prep, more eyes to take notes on film and opposing teams? Like, there's no way Sender can possibly do all of this on his own, you know? And I just think having more eyes can only help before you blow up the team and you make Scump retire or something like that, you know? Like, why not try these other options?
I 100% agree. Wholeheartedly agree. I think if they got more eyes on the team and more people invested in the cause that is OpTic, that has voices in the team comms, I think that could do wonders for this team.
And when the issues are these small mistakes, maybe it's because these small mistakes aren't just getting addressed enough in the preparation. And, you know, when you have 4 guys constantly watching over your scrims and looking for analysis or small things, you know, looking at the data for why P4 on Moscow is a hill you suck at, or P3 on, you know, Apocalypse or whatever it is. And why on P3 on Apocalypse and all of our scrims do teams dominate us here? And obviously Sender, I'm sure, is doing some of that. But like at the end of the day, it's one man. Yep. And how much can one man do? And when you have like a whole squad of people, more eyes and more feedback, I do think that there's a sense of like Scump and Formal maybe being stuck in the old ways of COD and not being willing to adopt the new ways of analysis and really diving into analyzing these small moments and looking at the film and film review and notes and strategy and stats and all these things that we've seen FaZe adopt, that we've seen Empire more and more adopt, even that we see Toronto very much adopt, and New York very much adopt.
JP.
And suddenly you're all here. Yeah, Revan, JP, and all those guys. Like, you know, you suddenly have all of these eyes on these teams, and OpTic has one man.
OpTic needs a bigger family, bigger like competitive in-house family. Honestly,
yeah, I agree.
People that are more invested in the game, because it'll help everybody else on that team be invested. Just like you have some new analyst coming in, he's gonna be like, guys, this is what's going on. You gotta stop. Like, you need somebody who can just be aggressive almost with these guys.
It's weird. And so, again, it's hard to say whose decision that is not to have that. If that's just like Scum and Formal, like, yo, no, we don't need this. Or if it's Hex, like, nah, I mean, you guys don't really need that. Yeah. Come on, you guys are Scum and Formal. Or like if it's a different situation there, I have no clue. Yeah. But at the end of the day, that's my pitch to OpTic is to get some analysts. I'll recommend Carson as an option. Let's
Carson.
shout out Carson, get him out there. He makes some great stats and does a lot of stuff that does some really deep analysis I really like and is pretty good. And there's a lot of good options out there in the scene that I think could really get that job done. And it's something that OpTic should consider moving forward. Anyway, that's my OpTic rant.
Good stuff.
And any other thoughts on this OpTic team? Can they figure this thing out heading into stage 5 and champs? That's the last question.
I think they can. It's just a matter of
Just
will
some
they
small
sit
mistakes.
down. Small mistakes, like we've heard multiple times. I think they can, but it could be a mental block at this point. It could be, are they willing to dive in? How is their mental health?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So that I can't tell you one way or another. It's just a matter of if they're willing to go through that process.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I like it. So with that said, I guess we this has been a long convo, but I think it's really good. All right, top 4 here. New York Subliners are 4th here on the standings. Where do the New York Subliners sit in your power rankings? Rex, obviously you're the guy here. Lead us off. What are your thoughts?
Oh, Shady, he's just loves New York Subliners fanboy, yada, yada, yada. New York Subliners, I have him at 2nd.
Ooh, spicy. But dude, they didn't even finish top 6 this weekend.
All right, but they didn't even have Destiny, and they beat the Florida Mutineers with like a sub, and like an Asim. Like, you could just watch the gameplay. New York, I think, is one of the closest teams to being as similar to how FaZe plays with so much chemistry. New York is getting to that same level of being able to play with that same high amount of chemistry the team has.
Yeah.
And like the teamwork on NYSL is just so good. And what Asim brought to that team is everybody brings something amazing to that team that can't be taken away, or it just won't work. So I think when Asim's back, I agree. NYSL is 2nd seed for me.
Man, these are some tough conversations. And again, all of this kind of depends also on how you feel about the Dallas Empire and the run that they made. Again, the Toronto situation, I guess, like, I'd imagine this means you're defaulting that New York's better than Toronto because Dallas beat Toronto, but is Dallas better than Toronto because Dallas beat Toronto? Like, there's these questions, and Dallas obviously lost the first time. Toronto beat Dallas in a game 5 in round 11 in an insane series, and they lose. So all of this combined kind of plays towards that New York argument. Sam, where do you have New York?
I have that too.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Sam.
I do. I heavily believe in the squad, especially with Asim Hydra.
I'm really torn.
Again, this was another team that just had this very unfortunate event. Asim couldn't be there, one of the cornerstones of this team, and I believe that the skill on this team is at number 2 right now.
Goodness, dude, it is really tough. Yeah. Again, there's an argument for 2. I think there's still an argument you can make for Toronto still to be ahead of Dallas and New York. But then it's like, obviously Dallas just beat them when it mattered the most, but Dallas was hot, and all of those same debates we've had multiple times now this year. I'm so torn. I was going between Subliners at 2 and Subliners at 3. I'm down to go Subliners at 2, which means we're probably gonna have. Well, we'll see. I'm gonna go Subliners at 2 as well, but I don't feel good about it. Because I really like Toronto a lot. Alrighty, so with that said, at number 3 is Toronto, but I think as a whole, we might just be able to do our top 4 here just because, like, at this point, and just kind of talk about it. So with that said, what are you guys' top 4 teams the rest of the way?
Okay, number 1, FaZe.
FaZe, obviously.
Yeah.
Easy, let's all put FaZe down.
Yep. We all
number
got
2,
FaZe.
Subliners. 3 for me is Ultra.
Okay.
And number 4, I have Dallas Empire.
We're on the same page, Rex.
Man.
The Ultra Empire debate is a tough one.
It's
It is.
tough. 3-2 both ways.
But I'd have to see Empire do it again for me to kind of get on board with that. Ultra did show like they can bleed more.
Yeah.
The way they played against FaZe, like FaZe was just gonna win that series.
Dude.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude. This is crazy. So I guess first of all, I want to talk about the Empire overall because I'm still hovering between. I'm gonna save my mine here for a minute, but I just want to have this debate because I haven't officially decided yet.
Okay.
What do you think about the Empire then? They finished top 2 at this event.
Yes.
They beat Ultra in a rematch after losing in around 11. But in that first series, it took a 246 to 159 comeback on checkmate just for the Ultra to win map 1. And then Empire won the next 2 maps. So they would have got 3-0'd potentially. Obviously, who knows what happens, but in that situation. And then in round 11, Ultra win a round 11 on Moscow, which was insane. You can go check out my reaction video to that. It was awesome, by the way. You should go check that out. And it was just a crazy series for Ultra to even to force or to win that match to go to the winners finals against FaZe. So then you head to the obviously Ultra lose 3-1 to FaZe. Then they go down to play Dallas again. And Dallas just continued to find themselves the more matches they played. And they looked really good. They looked better. And like, you're like, oh my word, Dallas is probably going to win this. And you get to that point, you're like, holy crap, they're doing it. And I don't know, man.
I mean, they did play again. So like, is a debate too, because Dallas just beat OpTic. They stayed on stage and then played Ultra. So like the warm up Empire had, and like, this has been a hot debate.
Yep.
Is like the losers bracket run teams have the advantage because they just have so much more time being able to play on stage in the competitive setting.
Yeah, and the team that wins that first match on Sunday has the advantage in the second match, and then you go into a grand finals, and you've already played 2 matches, and then here you are, So I'm really torn. Obviously, the Ultra, when they rematched on checkmate, they didn't just beat them, and they didn't just very beat them. They beat the living life out of them on that checkmate, 250 to 69. Nice.
It was perfect hard point.
It was unreal. Perfect hard point. And then you go to a standoff S&D. It was 6-2. They dominated, and that was in a rematch map as well.
Yeah.
Or no, that was not a rematch map. But as a whole, you had to been so impressed with Toronto up 2-0, and then suddenly Dallas wins the control. You're like, okay, that's a pretty good win on control, Garrison. But they've been pretty good on Garrison, so I'll give them it. Then you go to a Moscow, and you're like, oh no, they just won a Moscow, and then they play the Moscow S&D, and you're like, oh no, they win 6-4. Just crazy. But is Vivid and Illy arrived? That's the question. Have Vivid and Illy arrived?
That's the question.
They've arrived more so than they were before. They're like, I think halfway through the door.
Yeah. And as Crim found himself, is this the new normal for Dallas?
Here's the thing. Dallas got on a hot streak. So that's like, it's very hard to tell. Like,
this
if
is
we
exactly
go in cold, Ultra versus Dallas, Ultra could have just been 3-0.
This is Toronto in stage 2. This is the exact same thing that happened. They lost their first round matchup to FaZe. To OpTic, right? Or no, to FaZe. They beat OpTic, then they lose to FaZe, then they rematch FaZe, they beat FaZe. Like, very similar situation here where Toronto beats Dallas, then they rematch against Dallas, and then Dallas beats Toronto. And then they go on and they nearly win against FaZe in the freaking grand finals. They force a game 9, round 10 S&D, which was unreal. First of all, epic. It was awesome.
Great series.
And Dallas had some impressive wins. So I've been ranting and raving over here. I don't even know what I'm saying at this point. I mean, like, at this point,
great stuff.
At the end of the day, I was really impressed with Vivid, obviously in the S&Ds. And Dallas's S&D looks awesome. And I don't think you can take that away from them. And that's a lot of credit to Vivid, to Illy, to Crim. And Shotzi has been unreal in S&D as well. This team could end up being the best S&D team in stage 5. Very possible. They look like they were the best S&D team here at stage 4 major. Great. So the question is, can they keep that up? And then can they get more consistent in the respawns with Vivid? Yeah. And Vivid's kind of the key. Vivid and Illy, really.
Yeah.
And it comes down to what you believe. Obviously, you guys have them at 4.
Yeah. But mine really was solely based on, I got to see him do it again.
Yeah.
I got to see this team stay at this level of heat for more than just a stage.
Yeah.
Or for more than just a major. Yeah. Again, the game, both game 5s, Ultra versus Dallas.
Split round count.
Split round count. So it's one of those things where 2 and 3 are just so close, or 3 and 4, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's really mainly where my decision came from. Not to say that it can't change again. If we see Dallas just continue it, then by all means, they'll be 3.
Yeah. I mean, again, But if you kind of project forward, though, you can see a world where Dallas gets better, and that's what gets scary. Is that
if you have Ellie start,
this is the turning point now, where if they start plateauing, you're like, they get stuck here in the top 4, and we've seen a lot of teams get stuck right here this year, where they get to this point, they look pretty good for a stage, but I mean, obviously this is a little bit more extreme, and then they just can't get past that, and they can't beat the top teams in the league. But there's a world. I mean, Shotzzy emerged finally back to exactly what we knew Shotzzy was. A top 6 player in the CDL. He was insane during this stage. And that's what gets me excited about this team. But at the end of the day, I'm with you guys. I had to go Empire 4, Ultra 3. I want to see it again too. And that's where I'm at with it. So at the end of the day, FaZe, Subliners, obviously the question mark is moving forward. Can the Subliners kind of get to that point again? Can they stay there? Can they get better? How do the Subliners beat FaZe? Is FaZe beatable? They showed some signs of being beatable this tournament.
Yeah.
But even when they weren't playing well, they still win. And that's the problem.
That's
They're back to back here.
That's scary.
And it gets really scary where now Cellium won the MVPs. Now all of them are out basically at this point. So it's like, what are we doing here? Again, FaZe is inching it closer and closer to this dynasty status that we had that discussion about 2 weeks ago. And it gets crazy, man. So thoughts on FaZe via NYSL and what this could look like in stage 5?
I think it's going to be more of the same. FaZe is going to continue to dominate. I'm very curious to see Asim on LAN now that we know for sure he'll be back this week.
Yep.
So I'm eyes wide open there. But by all means, for sure, 2, 3, and 4 for me are very close. That can easily go up and down. Subliners, Ultra, and Empire. But to me, FaZe is still going to remain dominant. And even looking forward in the champs too, this team is going to be almost impossible to beat, I feel like. But we'll see.
Right. I mean, we thought that in the past, if with certain teams in certain years, and then they'd start falling off. We haven't really seen that from FaZe yet, though.
Dude, here's the thing about FaZe. FaZe are better than the OpTic Dynasty was. Like,
another conversation.
I mean, okay, no, Dynasty's won more trophies, more whatever, but like you just look at it, how completely and utterly dominant FaZe are. It's no question in anybody's mind who #1 seed is ever. It's always FaZe.
Right.
Like, and they like, how long can they be this good?
They're 30-4 on the year, by the way. 30-4.
That's insanity.
That's 11 less losses, or that's 9 less losses than the Subliners, who are second best, least amount of losses.
And this is and everyone talking about this is the most competitive COD has ever been.
Yep.
With the amount of teams and the amount of players, the most competitive it's ever been. And FaZe is easily still #1 in the most competitive environment COD has ever been in.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
again,
dominance.
3 first places now at stages and a second to Toronto, who was at this point now the second best team over the past 3 months. So again, they have a resume right now, and if they keep this thing up, they are going to have an argument.
Well, here's the thing: they're going
year of all time
after year being so dominant. Like, I know they didn't win champs last year,
right? But I mean, at the end of the day,
so dominant.
Even if they just finish top 4 at the next tournament and then they win champs, they'll have a pretty dang good argument for the most dominant year of all time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
then how long will they be, like, is it going to be 5 years?
And that's what gets
the same
scary.
team just crushing them?
Yeah, that's what gets really scary. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, we'll talk a lot more about FaZe over the next few weeks.
Oh, man. FaZe is great.
And
FaZe sets the bar for where everybody else has to be.
They are just so much fun to watch, and it's like, and obviously we're predicting them to win. So like, there's like an inherent like, oh, we want to be right. So, you want FaZe to win in those settings, but it's just insane. I didn't think they would be this dominant. And even and again, they showed some signs where you're like, okay, I don't know. But then you have like the APOC map against Dallas in the grand finals where Abizi he was unkillable. He was unkillable. And that's Shotzzy trying to kill him. Those are incredible players trying to kill him here. And he's winning every single gunfight. And that just happens at points. And you're just like, it doesn't matter what these guys do. It's a 2v4 on rotation. They just win it.
Pretty much.
It's like, they don't even have to play that fundamental all the time. And they get bailed out. So anyway, long story short, we'll see what happens. Our our final power rankings here, just so the YouTube can see it, is voila, there they are on the YouTube screen. We have the same exact top 5. That's a rarity for us to agree like that. It's covered up in the little corner, but Sam has London at 12.
I do. And
go from there. So it's gonna be fun, boys. We're looking forward to it. So with that said, we can go into intelligent or relevant, which is a similar conversation to what we just had. I want to see what the people have to say. So without further ado, let's check it out.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent.
All righty. So, Sam, what are the people got for us today?
So, pretty much very similar. Who is the second best team right now?
Perfect.
Choices: Ultra, Empire, Subliners, and then I threw an OpTic.
Lol.
No, this is perfect. We just talked about this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
It's great.
So, obviously, I think we all think Subliners is the second best team at the moment.
Yes.
So,
I'm honestly more interested to see who loses this poll.
I know.
Because will OpTic fans just vote for it? Because I don't know.
So I'll just go ahead and vote for OpTic.
Oh, typical Sam move.
I know.
Wow, dude.
Yeah. Okay. So, wow, 54% say Ultra is second best right now.
Really?
And then it is a dead tie at 19% for Empire and Subliners.
Whoa. Wait, what do the comments have to say? That's actually surprising.
Yeah. And then 8% for OpTic. So, got a few. So, we have JD Biscuit.
Oh, shout out JD.
I'm super bummed that is clearly not OpTic, as I'm a big fan. That being said, Dallas looks effing insane now. Vivid was going off. He's bringing a lot of good S&D strats, which they sorely needed. Shotzi is finding the MVP form, and Crim and Illy more than stepped up. He was Empire for his take.
Okay, interesting.
Oopsie says, I'd say Subliners. Obviously, with Asim are just a smidge better than Ultra, but an argument could be made for either. Those two are tied for second in my book, with Empire assuming they keep very close behind.
Man.
Our Apollos says, did you put OpTic here for poops and giggles?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's yes is the answer.
And then one more, Burger Monkey. Ultra due to how consistent they've been. They've been there with FaZe since Major 2, and yes, Dallas did make it to the final against them, but I would like to see Dallas keep up the consistency before I could say they're number 2. Thanks for the name compliment, Bash. You're welcome.
Oh, nice.
Burger
There you
Monkey.
go. There you go.
I
like that.
I think it's very...
It disagrees with us, but the reasons were intelligent enough, you know?
Definitely. Intelligent.
So I'll give it the
Just
intelligent
like every
stamp of
week.
approval.
Every
No.
week. No, there's definitely been some weeks.
Rex, do not give them that type of credit,
There's
okay?
been some weeks with that.
We
they've been-
always say
Wow.
intelligent.
know.
I'm on a vendetta
Oh, no.
now. We're gonna
It's
come out
gonna
with a
be
hot,
irrelevant.
spicy. We're making the questions too easy. Then we need to
Yeah.
make them way hotter, way spicier. But man, that's gonna do it. I'm interested to see. I was a little bit surprised that the Ultra had that high of a rating.
Yeah.
Again, we all agreed on our top 5, which is a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. And we'll see what happens. So, what are you guys watching this week?
I am thinking about rewatching Suits. You ever watch Suits?
I haven't watched it. No.
Really good. I love that
What's-
series.
What streaming service is that on?
Netflix, I think.
Oh, okay.
I think. Unless I'm wrong, but
Couldn't tell you.
I think Netflix.
Nice.
I started watching Loki, Josh.
Oh yeah.
It's good. It's
Oh,
good.
it's good, dude. It's
You don't
really
have to even
good.
be a Marvel
Yeah, 'cause
Marvel
you're not
fan.
like a Marvel super fan or anything, right?
No, well, it's not even like Marvel-esque, really. It just like has themes of it, I feel like.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty good show. You don't have to be big into the Avengers stuff to like it.
Are you a Tom Hiddleston fan? Like,
Yeah, I like Tom Hiddleston.
I feel like you'd be the type of guy that'd be like your favorite actor, like that type of situation. But I
He's
don't know, maybe
probably
not.
up there. I like him a lot.
Okay, all right, fair. Like I said, I definitely been watching Loki. Obviously, I was watching the U.S. Open this weekend while watching COD, but I watched a lot of COD this week. I streamed for like 8 hours on Saturday. That was insane.
Wow.
And then just again, Bad Batch. The huge for me right now. Nothing too crazy. I'm just kind of doing I'm in a little vibe right now. But looking forward to the week of just making a lot of content this week, though.
Yeah.
I mean, with no COD, so lots of fun videos. I got some really fun videos lined up, and we'll see what happens with some 1v1 Me Bro this week and a lot of other things. So looking forward to it. Again, drop a comment down below, guys, if you guys enjoy the podcast. Drop all of your spicy takes. And drop a review on Apple Podcasts so we can read your reviews. We are fresh out.
We are now.
So we'd like to see some of your guys' hot, spicy, loving reviews out there. And we'll see what happens. But again, you can watch on YouTube. You can listen on Apple Podcasts. You can listen on Spotify, and you can follow us on Twitter at SalvationsElite. This is a struggle. You can follow us on Twitter. Josh SalvationsElite to my right is Bash_BO3 to our farthest right per use. None other than Rex. Shady Nero, guys. This has been the best 3 Call of Duty Esports podcast, and we will see you next time. We out.